So Burnley away is our next fixture. How are we feeling about that, guys? Will there be lessons from the defeat against Fulham? Do you think he's just going to go straight back into full strength, or did anyone in that team perform in a way that they deserve a shot in the Premier League now? I'll start with you, Saj, you're next to me on the screen.
So I think it will be back to the business as usual from the first three league games. If I'm honest, you might see a little bit of rotation, one or two places here or there. You might see Emerson, but I think the way Burnley play, which is a little bit like Bournemouth, where they'll come on the front foot, they'll attack us, they'll press us. I think you'll see a similar sort of tactical game to Bournemouth. I think Maddison might drop that little bit deeper to unpick that sort of like that high press that they're gonna put against us. I don't know what we do about the problem of Richie. He needs. I know he got the goal, but he didn't have a good game either. His control was terrible at times. It was like he had 50p's tied to his boots. Do you know what I mean? It was just, It was pinging off everywhere. There were a couple of times he couldn't trap a bag of cement yesterday. He's going through a real crisis, and I'm not saying drop him, not for a second, because he needs to work through this. But he needs to do something within himself. Firstly, to stop looking so fucking miserable on the pitch. He just looks like he's got something stuck up his backside half the time. Stop. He walks around. He looks so down.
Yeah.
He needs a league goal. I'm hoping he gets a league goal against Burnley. I think there'll be some space for him to work within. I think we win it. I think we win it. I don't think it'll be easy. I think it'll be a tight game. Like Bournemouth wasn't particularly tight, but I think it'll be a tight game. I think a 2-1 for us.
And go on, Stu. I'll give it to you as you've got family in Burnley who support the team. What's their vibe?
Yeah,
can you tell us a bit about their optimism and how it's going with company and all that as well?
Yeah, obviously, I mean, after last season, company's got a lot of rope. They've lost 2 out of 2, but the other game was the game against Luton, which they kind of presuming they would have won. So things aren't doing too badly, and they played quite well against City. I didn't see the Villa game, but from what I heard, they weren't too bad. And I'm actually gutted because I think it's the first time I won't be going to the game with my family, since they've come up against us. But I think we'll be all right, because the one thing that I think Burnley lack is a striker, someone who's going to actually put the ball in the back of the net. They play great football, pass it around well. Company's obviously learned a lot from Pep. But I don't think they're particularly deadly in front of goal. So I think we'll be all right there. So I think we'll get another clean sheet, and I think it'll be a relatively comfortable game because I think we'll go full strength. But as Sai said, I think Richie is going to need another early goal, because he just tends to lose his head, doesn't he? Yeah. And I find it worrying. And the more as we were saying in the chat, I tend to give players a lot of long leash. I try to be as optimistic as I can, but he's just not giving me those great vibes. And the more I look at the way Son is playing as well, and Perisic is playing as well, I'm more and more inclined to put Son in the middle and play Perisic out wide. Because I just think that'd be a more effective and a more efficient way of actually going forward.
Interesting. Yeah. What about you, Jonny?
Exactly what I've written down there as well. In terms of team selection, I mean,
yeah,
I think not absolutely everything said. I'm not going with my family on this occasion, although to go to Burnley. I'd love to go to Turf Moor. Yeah, I'm sure it is. We'll have to do it sometime. So too.
Well,
no, yeah. In terms of team selection, I think Perisic has done quite well. I mean, he got the assist yesterday. His delivery is certainly better than Son's.
Good crosser.
Son is there's although he's not been lighting the pitch on fire, metaphorically speaking, this season, I think there's still signs that there's a bit more confidence about him than a lot of last year. And we know he's a great finisher, so I agree with what Si said about Richie. Like I've tried, and I know it's game 4 of the Premier, and he scored his goal last night. I would probably just about hang in and start him tomorrow, but I'd be really struggling to kind of if he puts another one of those mopey performances in. Like I said the other day after the win against who did we beat 2-0 Bournemouth. That he did work hard and he did do bits and pieces, but then he got in a strop, didn't he, in the second half?
Yeah.
So it just seems to, and that's the kind of player. Like I remember when we were originally linked with them. Like, what? Why would we sign Richarlison? And my kind of away team's notions about Richarlison was exactly what we're talking about now. Just this moody bugger who's sort of mopes around a bit and doesn't really work all that hard. And that's kind of what we're seeing a little bit more of. And so I really wanted to work. We spent a huge amount of money on him, and like he would be, there was a lot of optimism about him. He comes on, there's lots of energy and stuff. But I'm losing a bit of patience with Richie. I'd give him Saturday, and then I'd definitely from then on. Interesting if we can sign with somebody in this couple of days as well. I seem to be looking at forwards. But that's the obvious solution or switch for me is to put Son in the middle and Perisic on the left. And obviously we've got Solomon in there. He wasn't great last night either, but he needs a bit more time than that to be judged on. And so there are, and there's the people talk about putting Decky in the middle then and mixing things around that way too. So I don't know. That would be the only change I'd make. Porro, I suppose, Porro and Royal is the other one that's up for discussion. The others are just absolutely bang on, nailed on, because they've been really, really excellent.
I can't. Every week it's exciting to watch Sarr play again, isn't it? As well, just because he's getting better and better at such a young age as well. It's wonderful, but I'm really looking forward to the Premier League being back. And with Richarlison, it does feel though the only negative in the team is that energy, like you guys all mentioned there with him. It's frustrating to see him react in that way. It's a bit like Jonny. You mentioned you're a teacher. Like it's a bit like you giving feedback to a student who just had a nightmare essay. They worked hard on it, but they cocked it up and just went completely off track. And their reaction being to just throw the textbook across the classroom and storm out, rather than saying, that's a shame, but how do I avoid this mistake in future? How can I sit down with you and go over it? Can we figure out a way of improving? It just feels a bit like a childish response to adversity. And I get it. And in Conte, the one expression I love that he did do was it was hot hearts and cold minds. And I feel like Richarlison's got a hot head and a hot heart. He just needs to figure out how to remain a bit calmer, and he'll get out of these things. But should we touch on transfers as well? I mean, Brennan Johnson's been one thrown around as a potential expensive signing that links to Richarlison again and Kulusevski. But have you guys heard anyone else, and what do you think of Brennan Johnson, Si?
He's more of a wide player than the number 9, isn't he? Johnson.
Yeah, he is.
I think.
That's his natural position.
And
is more
I'm not sure. So I think Kulusevski could do with some pressure on the right wing. I think. Listen, there's certain places that are saying he's ideal for us, that he would fit Ange's way of playing. He's high tempo. He's got a lot of energy. He'll press well. So if Ange likes him, then far be it for me to say no. But I'm not. I don't know whether that's the critical position to fill. I think we've got to get a striker in to put some pressure for places on Richie. And because whilst yes, we could move Son into the middle, that's not his ideal position, is it? He can do a job there for a bit, but I'm not sure he's a full season striker for us. I think that, and I think because when you look at how the depth there at striker, we got out and out strikers. We got Richie and Valise.
And
really, the other Scarlett, he's still developing. You can't rely a season on Scarlett.
I think he proved he's got to go out and learn.
I think if you listen to Ange's press conference last night, I think he's the decision is almost made. So you got Richie and Valise as your out and out strikers. Valise isn't going to be ready for the foreseeable. That might be back after the season. So that means Richie's sort of the only option that we've got. I think we've got to get someone in there. And I think, the centre back as well is still a little bit of a concern. If one of those gets injured, What, Sanchez is our backup, is it? Again, after last night, and I don't want to get on the guy's back, but his distribution is awful. His speed's good. He made some good covering tackles last night. It wasn't a total disaster from him, but his distribution is shocking. The amount of times he passes it to their winger instead of hitting our fullback, you can't do that in a system where you're playing that high line and you've got to get out from the back. It just doesn't work. So I think the centre back is still a little bit of a concern for me. So those are the two areas that I would say that we would like to see some activity in the next 24 hours.
Yeah, I can't see us getting both personally. I think it'll be one or the other, and 2 or 3 players going out.
No, I agree. I agree, but they're the two areas of concern for me, though.
Yeah, I agree. It's weird having the midfield feeling kind of sorted with Bentancur coming back. That feels strong after it was such a position that needed addressing for so long.
Can you imagine when he comes back, mate?
Well, what happens? If Sarr continues to improve, do you just swap him out, or it's going to be interesting to watch?
Yeah, I think you've got a real rotational option there. Then, do you know what I mean? So,
depending on who we play, depending on the tactics that he wants to implement, who we're coming up against. Yeah, I think Ange is going to have real, choices.
Yeah.
And it means we're okay if there's an injury, I suppose.
Yeah. So I agree with you, sir. I think centre back, it's all very well talking about strikers and more forwards, but we've got. And I understand the bringing in someone to kind of really challenge Decky, because Solomon's mainly, I think, supposed to be more of a left winger than a right winger. And if we move Son to the middle, then we've got 2 for the right, we've got Perisic and Solomon on the left, and we still have Gilles to come back.
No.
So I think we're kind of almost too many wide players, and as you said, Sanchez being our first centre back option just scares the living out of me. I mean,
Ange can't have rated Longley either. He's going to Barcelona on loan for free, and they're just paying 70% of his salary. But again, why is it we get treated Why do we get treated differently on negotiations? Because when we were after him, we were apparently being told, no, £2.5 million and all his wages isn't enough. And then he goes to Aston Villa for free for 70% of his wages on loan, which is what we kind of wanted to do. And then it was the same with David Raya, wasn't it? It's like, well, no, Tottenham's price is 45 million. Yeah. Arsenal's loan, you don't even have to buy him. Just pay us a couple of million quid and see how it goes, guys. It's like, what? What's going on? It's definitely, I don't know if it's just revenge because we're such arses and we negotiate with...
That's probably it. That's probably it.
Or call me crazy. Maybe it's because there's 1 day left in the window and they've got to get rid of him.
True. Is it the last day of the window? That has flown by. Okay, I take it back.
3 days left, whatever it is.
No, it's Friday. It's Friday, isn't it? It's 1st of September.
Yeah, it's the first. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, was it the first? I thought it was the 3rd.
Yeah. No, okay. It's Friday.
I stand corrected.
Okay. The other problem is we really have to obviously get rid of players, and for lots of different reasons we've got to get rid of players, whether it's on loan or permanently. Because I'm assuming, I'm just making logical assumptions based on any area where you've got people working together and you've got a bunch of people who are not really going to be featuring, especially now because we're at the Cup. And they've got a really pretty miserable recent record at the club. The players that we all know about, what's happening with Hugo? I've absolutely no idea. But there's Tanganga, Dyer, Davinson Sanchez, Reguilon,
Tanguy, by the way,
Dombele. And so all these guys. Spencer's now gone to Leeds at least, but there was supposed to be a bid for, was it Sanchez that was who bid for? Yeah,
it was a €9 million bid for Sanchez. I thought we rejected it
from Rennes.
Yeah,
and
that's the rumor.
Eric Dyer to Bayern Munich. Apparently, Harry's recommendation.
That's magic.
I can't. I've stuck that in the WhatsApp. Oh my goodness!
God, can you imagine though? We're going to have all the jokes of Eric Dyer left and then won a trophy. But yeah, it does seem
It's
real.
Got to be like a translator for Harry Kane or something like that.
I think it does feel a bit like, how can we help you settle in? We're going to bring my friend Eric in. He's very good. He's very good at football. He's represented by my brother as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Unfortunately, I need to wrap up there, guys. As you know, I'm traveling this week and I've got to jump. But
no worries.
lovely to catch up with you all.
Are we doing a
Let's
prediction?
hope. Yeah, we'll do quick predictions. And so not only you're going to predict the score of the game on Saturday, but also if there's going to be any deadline day signings. Go on, Si, start with you.
I've gone 2-1 already, so I'll stick with 2-1, and I think we get. I think. I don't think we get anyone over the line.
Okay, Stu.
I said a clean sheet, and I reckon we're going to win 2-0. I know we tend to struggle up there, but I think their open style of football will play into our hands. And I'm going to stick with my optimism and say we're going to bring in 2 players.
And Jonny?
I'm going to say it's a goal fest. I'm going to go 3-2 win for Tottenham on the basis of the way that Burnley play as well. I'm hoping that we might get Tosin. I know he's still talking to Monaco, I think, but I think he would be a good addition with his experience. And there's quite a lot of chat about Ansu Fati, the Barcelona fella, and it's just sort of I'm not saying I want him, but I reckon he's going to come. I think it's one of those sort of rogue late in the window jobs. So I'm going to say he's across the front. He's not really a striker anyway. So yeah. I don't fancy it, but I wouldn't be surprised. He's got a great name. So
he's got a great name, but he's also got a great salary package, and we're never going to pay that. It's like we're linked to Sancho.
Well,
and he'd have a great song. It'd be Lip Up Fatty, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Just wrap it up. I'll go for 2-0. And yes, we're going to sign a 1 player, and I'm actually going to go for a forward player. I think we'll over the line. I don't think we'll be able to sell, because what they'll try and do is say, we'll get a centre back, we'll let you go, Sanchez, who'll probably get an offer or something like that, but we have to find your replacement, and we won't have time in the window to find the replacement, and then it will just end up not being. But anyway, up the Spurs, roll on the Ange Revolution.
Spurs.
And speak to you all guys on the weekend. See you soon.